The Tony Bova Show, built by pain, designed for freedom.
And as I continue to drop these really raw, authentic walking videos, I started my walk earlier just thinking about what I was going to talk to you guys about today, and thinking about how, I grew up in a way where I never experienced anxiety. I just didn't really have a lot of it, or I wasn't aware that I had any of it. I never had that feeling of anxiety in the same sense. Like, as I look back, maybe I can see the discomfort I felt feeling very different when I went through school and feeling alone and a black sheep. The first time I ever experienced a panic attack, I remember very distinctly. You see, this happened, a few weeks after I left my ex-wife, in a kind of a blur. And when I left, it was unexpected. Nobody saw it coming. I didn't even see it coming. And when I left her for somebody else. Fell madly, deeply in love, instantaneous, because, looking back, I didn't get my needs met, or what I thought my needs were that I thought another person was required to give me in a marriage. And so I left, and just shocked everybody around me. My entire world just crumbled. Lost tons of friends. People were very concerned about me. And I remember when I left, I went and I stayed at a buddy's house for a few weeks. And at that time, we only had one car because we were living in the city. And I felt so much guilt and shame for what I had done, knowing that I still needed to do it, that I just left everything. I left her with the apartment. I left her with the truck. And I had nothing. I had a backpack of clothes. And I needed to get around. I needed a car, because after about a week, she decided she was going to take my kids up to Maine, which is about a 3-hour drive, to go be with her mom and with my kids. And at that time, I didn't have any amount of courage to try to fight what that was, because I already felt so much guilt and shame at that point for what I already caused. And so I let her go up to Maine with the kids. But I had to see my kids, and I think this is one of the things that I feel so proud of that didn't happen in the middle of my divorce, because my kids were 3 hours from me for about 7 months. And I met with one attorney at one point, but wasn't willing to go through that process of forcing her back down and creating more trauma for the kids. All the fighting and the back and forth. And so I had to get a car because I needed to see my kids. And my kids, to this day, they've never told me, "Dad, you abandoned us." My daughter, very distinctly, my oldest one, who, was 3.5, 4 at the time. No, she was 4.5. She had memories for me at that point. And she doesn't remember her dad being absent. What she remembers is that she was living in Maine and that her dad would come see her every single week. But until that point, I have a car. I didn't have a way to get there. So my dad drove to the city and he brought me to a dealership, and I had about 3 hours to find a car, buy a car, make a decision. Now, the anxiety was not about buying the car. I had no problem. I ended up buying this dinky Scion XD. The color was purple, and it just didn't matter. I just needed a good car with good gas mileage that was going to get me to and from. I didn't even care. We just bought it. But before we bought it, I remember being in the dealership and experiencing this out of body experience where I was just paralyzed. And I've never experienced this before. What is happening to me? Where my heart started racing and I couldn't talk and I was just frozen. Because up until that point, I was always, when fight or flight, I was always the fighter. I never had experienced ever freezing really like that. Maybe when I was a young kid. And my heart was racing and I was sweating and I was so overwhelmed with so much fear that I didn't know what to do about it. And it's funny because, that was almost 10 years ago at this point. I was like 33, 34 at the time. And I look back at my younger version of who I was acting, and how I was making decisions. And how he knew nothing of the world that I live now. And how he would be amazed and want to be mentored by the version I am today. Being able to deeply understand what he's experienced. Being able to reflect on what was happening in that process so he could actually make clearer decisions on what he needed and wanted out of his life. Because up until that point, he'd been reactive to the world around him, thinking that he was a victim to his circumstances. That it wasn't his fault that he made that choice. That it was everybody else's fault around him. I don't know if this reminds you of anything you're in right now. Feeling that bitterness and frustration that life shouldn't have been this way because I was a good Christian boy. I prayed, read my Bible, did Bible study, and was discipled. None of it mattered. So up until that point, I'd been living in this mindset that I wasn't responsible for how other people treated me or reacted to me or how they showed up in my life. And yes, I'm going to say, yes, some of that is very true. You can't control other individuals. You can't control your wife, your girlfriend. You can't control the girl that you love. You can't control your parents. You can't control your kids. You can't control anything. And that's not to say, oh no, like this extremism of like, well, there's nothing you can do, so therefore just die. No. But what I am saying to you is you have a choice in how they treat you because you have a choice to be there. You have a choice to be there in how you show up, how you demand respect of yourself, and ultimately how you view yourself. Because the people around you, they're a reflection. They're a reflection of who you are and who you are today. And in order to change that, you have to do two things. You have to change your mindset around it. You have to stop living in this mindset of like, it's everybody else's fault. And you have to start thanking them for showing up that way in your life, because what they're doing is they're giving you opportunities to change your life. And when you start to think of it that way, and you start to edit these people out of your life or edit the thoughts out of your life and how you see the world, and then you start to step into that creator mindset, that one I know you are, because you have this relentless desire inside of yourself for more, that you know that there's capable of more in the world. And then the second thing is that you have to start to think you're worthy of it. You have to believe it. You have to start to step into it. And you have to start showing up for yourself internally. See, the things that are around us, all of this right here, all the external pieces around us, cars, money, meaning, women, status, power, all of the external things, the watches you want to wear, or the places you want to be, or the flights you want to take, they're all reflective. Well, how about this? The people that show up in your life, they're all reflective of your energy and your frequency. They reflect who you are today as an example of, are you showing up as the higher self version of yourself that you know you're capable of? And are these people being drawn into your life? Or are they reflecting to you the places you don't want to go, and that they're individuals on your journey guiding you to not go down that path? Because for whatever reason, you don't feel respected in that moment. And then it becomes your responsibility to figure out, is that showing up for you as a perspective that needs to be shifted? Because our belief systems are the things that dictate the outcomes in our life. Our subconscious runs 85% of our decisions. And if we're making 35,000 decisions a day, it's a lot of decisions our subconscious is making that we're not aware of. Even your subconscious might have brought you to this video. And so when we start to believe in ourselves differently, and we have this relentlessness, this unreasonableness about us, knowing that there's more, you're right, but it's not in the external. It's in the internal. It's in your internal world and the parts that are showing up almost like conflict. Because I can guarantee you have these moments where the moment you're indecisive It's not the moment that you don't know what to do. It's that you have these different voices going on and conflict. And when you start to develop yourself as a man, and you start to combine your mindset with your heart and emotions and your nervous system and your reactions, the decisions are easy. They're instantaneous, but you have to do that work beforehand. It's like going to the gym. You got to start out slow. You got to at least get there. The hardest part about getting to the gym or getting in shape is getting to the gym. It's not doing the reps. Then you got to do the reps. Then you got to do a number of reps over and over again, so that in the first beginning parts of it, it feels awkward. It feels like, oh, my body doesn't move this way. Maybe this isn't for me. But then you just keep showing up anyways. And you do it over and over and over again. And all of a sudden you're like, I got pretty good formation. I got a good foundation. I can, do a 30-minute workout and lift these weights. I'm going to increase my weight. And all of a sudden you start building muscle and you start getting in shape and you're losing weight and I was 39 when I had my first six pack of my life. 13, I was overweight. Puberty hit me in a weird way. My brother had a six pack most of his life. I didn't. Started to figure these things out. But the same thing is true about your internal world. You have to start working at it like repetitions in a gym. Changing your mindset is all about the reps, because we're always running a subconscious narrative. But in order to change that subconscious narrative, you have to start to take the reps and the steps forward to do that. You got to be held accountable. You have to, the fastest way to do that I found is find mentorship. Find somebody that's ahead of me that's already done it, that knows what they're doing and knows how to guide me to get there faster. Because, let's be honest, it's overwhelming. You could be on this video, and I'm giving tons of value. I'm giving you processes that I've gone through. The implementation part of it, to being able to fully step into that, to be able to fully experience that, there has to be touch points. And don't get me wrong, I've gotten a lot of value out of other people's videos and learning and picking up things along the way. But nothing really changed for me until I got somebody that was ahead and showed me. Because there's something about interacting with somebody that's ahead, right? Like they give you the hope that it's actually possible, and that helps you change the belief system. Because the belief system is the thing that's holding you back right now. I'm not good enough. I'm not capable enough. That's not for me. Those are all limiting beliefs. You could sit there in that limiting belief and you can die with regret. I just know that that's not me. And that's why I choose to, even if I outgrow a mentor, or I want a mentor for a very specific thing, I'm always looking for the next. Because this life doesn't end in growth. And that's the most beautiful thing about being human, is that we're going to die someday, and that we get to expand and grow throughout that entire journey. It's incredible. But if you're just waiting to die and you're sitting on a couch, eating potato chips, watching the football game, no meaning and purpose, I tell you, when you're 80, 85, 90 years old, unable to move in a nursing home, slowly dying a slow death of regret, it's not where I'm going to be. I'm going to figure out how to move my body, how to live a healthy life, grounded, be able to have my internal world under control to the best of my ability as an imperfect human man. And I'm going to keep moving forward. So the thing about failure in life, if you feel like you're broken, you're not. Actually, you might be less broken than the people around you that you don't think are broken, to be honest. Because I believe that when God calls these experiences in our life that are almost unimaginable, that make us feel like we're at the lowest, most broken point of our lives, where we want to end our life. I've been there. I've wanted to take my own life. That those are the people, the men and the women that God is calling to something greater. Because what he's doing is he's bringing something into your life in a way to abolish the programming and the belief system that you have around it. Because he knows he needs to shed you away from all those things. I think about Job in the Old Testament and how God just he just allowed every challenge to show up his way. And there was points where you could sense that Job wanted to break, but he didn't. And God just shed these layers off over and over. Because things are going to show up in your life. There's always going to be some kind of problem. You're either coming from one, you're going to one, or you're in one right now. It's just, how am I going to overcome it? How am I going to use this and turn this into a lesson? How do I create this into a good moment where I might actually miss it one day? I know it's hard to hear, but it's possible. Because everything and anything is possible. So I just want to say, I appreciate you. There's lots of love. I'm sending you lots of love and energy. And that you can be that man that holds both things. You can be extremely masculine, and you can have a deep, caring heart. And it's all very possible. And you can find great love. You can find great meaning. And you can impact this world where when you die and you look back, you can say, man, my life was worth something. Thank you, God. Just want to say, you're built by pain, designed for freedom, brother. Peace.